Husker boys, Jon Root, Bryan Farnsworth. Welcome to the Breakaway podcast. We are so glad you're with us, and don't mind my face. I'm doing a little Nelly throwback, I guess. That's what happens when you have moles on your face. Sometimes you shave, sometimes you nick it, and it won't stop bleeding. Kind of like being a Falcons fan. It's just the bleeding don't stop.
Never stops.
It's just the wound doesn't heal.
Yeah, actually, I saw something. I forgot to send it to you earlier this week. It was a Tom Brady thing showing his record against all teams throughout his career. He never lost to the Falcons. There were 6 teams he never lost to ever during his career, and Falcons were one of them.
Yeah, it's rough, too, because it's like 10-0.
Yeah,
it's in like the top left corner.
List.
Oh, I'm going to get some Celsius, too. We're going to get popping. We're going to get rolling. It's going to be a great show. We're talking about the NFL. I know last time we had our weekly podcast, I know you probably tune in on Sundays. We have exclusive interviews. We had a great one with Matt Orzek. I played with him at Azusa Pacific University. Unfortunately, we no longer have a football team, but my boy's balling. He's Super Bowl bound. He's a long snapper for the LA Rams. I'm so excited for him. Great conversation, reminiscing about our time at Azusa Pacific. He has an incredible journey. He's got a good heart behind what he does. If you haven't listened to that yet, make sure you go to Apple, which you should probably subscribe to, review, and get us to the top of the sports charts. We're trying to get after part of my take. We have some lofty goals here. We're trying to go to the moon this year.
We're nipping at their heels right now.
Oh, we're coming for you, boys. I'm sure they're terrified. They actually have Chris Berman on their show, I think, today.
Oh, really? I'm
kind of excited for them, and I feel like we should always just support each other. So check out that podcast. But last time we chatted, we didn't really get too much into the Brian Flores situation because a lot of it was released throughout the week. I know that's something we covered on TPUSA Live if you tune into that throughout the week. But we're going to talk about the Olympics. We will talk about it so you don't have to watch. We watch so you don't have to watch. It's great. And then we're going to go over some of our favorite sports movies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of excited about this. So let's start with the Brian Flores situation.
Doing injustice to people named Brian all across the country.
But this is Brian with an I, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we don't like those Brian with an I.
It's kind of like I don't associate with the Johns with an H.
Yeah. Yo, why do we spell our names the whack ways?
No, we spell them
the
cool
correct ways. Yeah, dude, silent H. Who needs it? No, but Brian Flores, essentially, to catch anybody up who has been living under a rock sports-wise and hasn't been paying attention, he was let go from the Miami Dolphins, and then he goes on to interview with the New York Giants. However, before ever getting to that interview, he receives a text from Bill Belichick congratulating him on the job, and he's like, "Hey, I haven't interviewed yet."
I haven't even interviewed
oh my gosh,
yet.
That text message, the screenshots were brutal, and Bill Belichick being like, "Hey, I effed up. I misread the text."
Isn't that like asking somebody like, how are you and this significant other person doing? Like, yeah, we just broke up. It's just like, oh god. I feel like I've been that guy way too many times in my life.
But I believe you've been that guy.
I don't think it should surprise anybody. But there he is, potentially the Colin Kaepernick of NFL coaching.
Mm-hmm. Because, and John says that because after that fact, Brian Flores decided to sue the NFL. Specifically, I read all 58 pages of that lawsuit. I went into the weeds on it, and
wow, that's a hell of a weekend for you, Brian Farnsworth.
Jeez, it was. I wanted to be able to say I know what is talked about there, so I read it so that I could give the details on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's called credibility. Go on.
But yeah, no, he specifically names obviously the New York Giants, the Denver Broncos, who he has beef with from 3 years ago, hiring cycle, and of course the Miami Dolphins, and then on top of that. The lawsuit just kind of blank statement says, and 1 to 29 of the other teams were also suing everybody else.
What I'd like to is before we get into some more of you diving into 58 pages, something I'm sure that our politicians don't do when they have all those long bills. They don't read all those pages, but Brian Farnsworth reads it and he does his homework.
I do it for the people.
I love the response from the Giants and the Broncos. So I know John Elway came right out and he's just like, nah.
Yeah.
It's like no part of this has truth in it. Mm-hmm. And then the Giants had a fantastic statement too, where it's like, obviously, we care about diversity and making sure that we have, an equal hiring process, but all of these allegations are completely false.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that too. If a team's going to come out right away and deny this stuff, they've done their homework. Because you remember what, I don't want to get into the weeds of this one, but with the whole, I think what was the owner of the Phoenix Suns, there was a lot of sexual assault allegations or something. It was like the team right away was like, nope, that didn't happen. It's like teams don't do that. Remember, teams don't just say, oh, he's wrong. No. No, they have to do their due diligence. They got to go through their legal team and everything. These teams right here, the Giants and specifically the Broncos, went after it right away. So we actually have John Elway's statement here up on the screen for people watching, everybody listening. Wow is not planning to respond publicly to the false and defamatory claims by Brian Flores. Boom. That's like right off the bat. That is an all-out blitz. No, this ain't happening. I cannot be silent any longer with my character, integrity, and professionalism being attacked. We'll read this second one, and then you guys can go online and read the rest yourself. Do your homework like Brian Farnsworth does his homework. I took Coach Flores very seriously as a candidate for a head coaching position in 2019 and enjoyed our 3.5-hour interview with him. Sounds like a Joe Rogan podcast. Along with the rest of our group, I was prepared, ready, and fully engaged during the entire interview as Brian shared his experience and vision for our team, and then goes on, obviously, to say that, just emphasizing that first sentence, I didn't want to respond publicly to the false, defamatory claims by Brian Flores. And that's why I call him the Colin Kaepernick of NFL coaching. What is he thinking? There was about 5 open coaching positions by the time he came out with this lawsuit. I thought that he would maybe become the Texans head coach.
He's still in the running
by now, but it looks like they're looking at Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
Right now, what a disaster zone that place is. I know Adam Schefter came out and said they're now in talks with the associate head coach and defensive coordinator Lovie Smith.
Which that kind of feels like, I mean, if you're going to boot out David Culley, who did I felt like overachieved there, just to replace him with the guy who is the defensive coordinator. Yeah, that is a crap show. I mean, they didn't get who they wanted. They have no idea what they're doing. Wow. I mean, but for anybody, I wanted to mention this. If you don't know what the claims were against John Elway and the Broncos, what Brian Flores was saying was 3 years ago during the hiring cycle, he part of the lawsuit was like, hey, yeah, the Broncos staff who showed up to interview me, 1, they showed up late, and 2, this is what it says. It said it was clear that they had been heavily drinking the night before, like as if they showed up hungover. And Broncos immediately came out and were like, no, we have the minutes from the meeting. We showed up right on time, and everyone was there, and we interviewed him for like 3 hours. This is completely false. Why that hurts Brian Flores immediately is because if he's lying, if like he is not being truthful about that meeting, then so much more within the lawsuit you just kind of can't take seriously. But like, yeah, obviously we don't want to jump too much into legal crap. Basically, I feel bad as a sports fan because I think Brian Flores is a really good head coach. I mean, he was a phenomenal defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Well,
that's what people have to remember too. He was a linebackers coach with the Patriots before he ended up taking over a head coaching job.
No. Well, and then he was the defensive coordinator.
And then the defensive coordinator,
and he was the defensive coordinator the year they played the Rams in the Super Bowl. And remember, that defense held the Rams to the lowest Super Bowl score for a team ever.
That was the biggest snooze fest ever. That's why the Rams have a chance to just really do a better job this time. They have a chance to come back and do something, because basically they could do anything and it would be better than what they did in the last Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. Look, and part of the problem with the Brian Flores thing is that it's taken straight out of the woke Ibram X. Kendi, how to be an anti-racist, critical race theory type mindset. What they're asking, in a part to money, because obviously what is the lawsuit about? It's about money. They want to get paid. It's a class action lawsuit that is supposedly representing about 40 black people who have been passed up for coaching positions. What's weird is, one, even though the Rooney Rule is about minority head coaches, which we'll talk about with Mike McDaniel in a second, the Brian Flores lawsuit never talks about minorities. It always talks about black coaches. And so it is asking for black players to have more say in coaching searches. Dumb. I don't think players should have a say at all. If you, as an organization, want to include your franchise quarterback in a coaching hire, then by all means. But short of that, no.
And then why does it have to be the black players that have a voice here? I just think this whole thing is. We'll get into the Rooney Rule too, but like it's another thing. Just like you said, Ibram X. Kennedy. It's forcing people to look and not just look at people by skin color, but get rewarded by providing them opportunities. If that's not a slap in the face to people of color, I don't know what is. And also just totally disregards every other ethnicity and race out there. But this is a statement from the Giants, too, that I was mentioning. Brian Flores has serious issues in the filing of his complaint. So obviously right there's like a little bit of empathy. Yep. We're just like, we understand. And that's a lot of what the NFL has tried to do, too, is try to be empathetic to the whole social justice nonsense that's going on. The specific claims against the Giants and Mr. Flores' allegations about the legitimacy of his candidacy for our head coach position are disturbing and simply false. After we interviewed 6 exceptional and diverse candidates, the decision on who, and then remember the Rooney Rule, which we might as well just get into right now, you have to interview a minority candidate. 2. You have to interview 2. So 6 of those people. The decision on who we would hire as head coach was made on the evening of January 28th, one day after Mr. Flores spent an entire day in our offices going through his second interview for the position, meeting with ownership and other staff members, and receiving a tour of our facility. Here's the itinerary, blah, 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 blah. So those are 2 teams right away that are just like, here are the details. They're completely forthcoming. They're not hiding anything at all. And I just think the Rooney Rule is so detrimental to the NFL. Looking at people by skin color is never going to help. That's not what Martin Luther King Jr. Advocated for whatsoever. How is this equity that you're looking for by forcing people to interview based on skin color, like, going to make anybody feel valued? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
And that's why my heart does go out to Brian Flores, because when we force people to look at other skin colors when it comes to things like hiring, then of course, like Brian Flores, I guarantee when he realized the mistake in Bill Belichick's text, I am sure Brian Flores felt humiliated, angry, resentful. And what brings that on? And of course, his mind jumps to, oh, because of the Rooney Rule, that's the only reason I have this interview is so that they can meet a quota. I like, putting myself in his shoes. If I felt like I was only getting interviewed for a job to meet a race-based interview quota, I would feel awful. And so I do feel awful. And that's why the Rooney Rule is a problem. It's not helping. It's creating more problems. Abolish the Rooney Rule. Yeah,
and then obviously, too, it's just like we can mention we are 2 white kids talking on a podcast here, but it's not just white people here saying this. I think there's real people that understand what true diversity, inclusion, and equity is, and knowing that this is not going to help people at all. This is not what was advocated for in the past. This is not what's going to make the NFL better. It's not what's going to make the society better. And all it is just dividing people. Mm-hmm. And I know they ended up bringing this up on the Pro Bowl yesterday. A little teaser for that. We'll talk about the Pro Bowl later after we get into the Dolphins' new head coach. But the Pro Bowl, they did end up talking about it. Pro Bowl's just so hot garbage. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But it's not so bad to where you need to have Louis Riddick just start going off on, this is good for the game, and I'm really glad we're having these discussions. Like, no, bro, this is not good for anybody. This is a waste of your breath. This is a waste of time. And that's when we need to get into how teams, staff, organizations, and reporters are trying to show how much they care and empathize with this aspect of we should have more minority coaches. Yeah. Adam Schefter tweeted this out. He's talking about the new head coach, and I know I was scouring through his feed the past few days and throughout the weekend because obviously dude's got 9 million followers. He's the guy that to go to anything breaking news in the NFL.
Unless it's Tom Brady's retirement.
At first, I was like, did he really jump the gun?
Yeah.
Was he? Is this some fake news stuff? No, like he ended up being right. But tweeted this out. It said, new Dolphins head coach Mike Daniel, who identifies as multiracial. I know we got that in the script here, guys, if we want to throw that up on the screen. But he identifies as multiracial, now joins Mike Tomlin of the Steelers, Ron Rivera of the Commanders. We need to talk about the Commanders, too. And Robert Saleh of the Jets as the NFL's only minority head coaches. Identifies as multiracial?
Well, so what I've heard is that his grandmother was, I think, black. Well, look, no, like, and I don't blame Mike McDaniel. What's hilarious about it is Deadspin, which is an absolute garbage website, bums, nothing but a bunch of bums over there writing. They, like, a week ago, January 22nd or something, they dropped an article in which they said Mike McDaniel, lambasting him even being a potential head coaching hire. They're like, oh, he's supposed to be some sort of offensive genius. He's just another white guy. And then it comes out that he's biracial. And that's why it's just so funny because
or multiracial.
The
also,
left
isn't
will always
everybody
keep their own.
multiracial?
I mean,
Can't somebody legitimately, like, I mean, obviously you got people like Elizabeth Warren that are just like, I'm 0.00001% Native American, so I can relate to this. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
could
mean, if you
literally
go back far
now, you
enough.
could now have people say, I'm going to do my 23andMe, and this is why I should be a part of the interview process.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of this in me. It's like, sports are the greatest meritocracy. The best person should get the job.
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, a lot of these conversations totally disregards the incredible work that some old black coaches have done. Like, look at someone like Tony Dungy. I think someone like Tony Dungy we should look to for conversations like this. I know he's posted some stuff on Twitter, too. And obviously, everybody wants inclusion and diversity, and people want to make sure they're getting or teams are doing their due diligence. But this kind of stuff isn't helping anyone. And then if you want to have coaches out there that are saying, like, well, I got a little bit of this race in me, like, does that give me this badge? Does that tell me, like, I'm a part of this exclusive minority coaching group? And I just can't fathom that this continues to be pushed with a league of, almost 65% of the players are black.
Yeah.
And, like, if we want to continue to push this whole idea that, you know, there's the white person in power and it's suppressing the minority groups and this is just like it was in the olden days, we totally forget about how we've looked to sports to be that place where we just bridge this gap, like politically, socially, race relations, like Louis Sack-Alexis from the Indians. They ended up naming the team after that guy.
Yeah.
Like, and then you look at someone like Jackie Robinson, obviously. You're always going to look there. Like, what an incredible moment that was for sports. And then I hate that I'm going Blake on this, but just got put into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And oh my gosh, I'm going blank. The guy that broke the color barrier for the NHL. Do you remember?
Hell if I know, dude.
Oh man,
I don't know that much
I'm
about
going
hockey.
totally blank. I hate that I'm forgetting that. I'll look that up. But like sports is Willie O'Ree. Gosh, I'm the worst. Willie O'Ree. Also, I met him a couple times.
Oh, that's cool.
Incredible guy. Like just look to sports like that.
Yeah.
There is just like constant breakthroughs, and look at where sports is now. That all the representation we have, and then now I feel like this is just a step back. And if we're constantly going to forget about the skill set and the meritocracy and what everybody can bring, regardless of race, religion, what you look like, where you're from, socioeconomic background, we can be that outlet again for sports. But this, I think it's just another piece of nonsense
and
that's not helping.
Obviously, the way the world works is if there is a rule to exploit, you will do it because, you do whatever it takes to get ahead. So, of course, Mike McDaniel would have been dumb to not pull any strings he could on the whole multi. And I'm not saying don't take me wrong here, but what I am saying is, look, the Dolphins, because they hired somebody who is multiracial, they're going to receive 2 extra draft picks, a compensatory third-round pick in 2022 and a compensatory third-round pick in 2023 because they hired a minority head coach. That's a problem. And also, in the Flores lawsuit, one of the things that they are suing for
this is great
is they say in the lawsuit, they say incentivize the hiring and retention of black general managers, head coaches, and offensive and defensive coordinators through monetary, draft, and or other compensation such as additional salary cap space. This is crazy. This level of affirmative action where it's like, hey, white head coaches, we're so done with them. We are so done with. It's just so stupid that it's based off skin color. But we want that if you hire, minority black. Well, actually, it only calls for black. So also, it's like, hey, hire a Hispanic American head coach. No, you shouldn't receive anything extra for that. Only if they're black. Like, dude, this is insanity.
Well, that's why this whole thing is not about diversity and inclusion. This is about like black versus white. That's what people are doing in our society right now, and it's not helping anybody. That's why that is so important. You're not going to hear that from really any other show. You're definitely not going to hear it from Stephen A. Smith at ESPN. There's just going to be a specific narrative, and it's going to be like, black people aren't able to succeed right now, and it's because of white people at the top. We are forgetting about Asian people. We're forgetting about Pacific Islanders. We're forgetting about Hispanics.
A lot of polys in football, dude.
None of that is talked about at all. That's why we believe this stuff is absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
We want the best people to get the job, no doubt. And we don't want any nonsense being pulled, but for people to be awarded for hiring people based on skin color. Don't get me wrong, too. People that are hired, they have worked hard. People like Brian Flores has worked his way up in the NFL system, and there's plenty of great coaches, too. But there is so much of that where they look at skin color. And then also to look at the way they promote it. Just look at what happened here with the Dolphins' new head coaching job, where it's like they have to mention he's multiracial.
Yeah.
Like that is just like another extra token. That's another extra badge where it's like, oh, great, cool. The Dolphins really do care. Also, don't forget, Brian Flores was fired by a black GM. Don't forget that at all. This is absolutely asinine to me. This is ridiculous. It's not helping anybody else. And last thing on Brian Flores is he's not helping himself. That's why I call him the Colin Kaepernick of NFL coaches. You have so many opportunities here, and there are openings. And I don't think he did a bad job in Miami.
No,
I thought he was fine. And then now to come out with this and say this is because I'm black and the NFL doesn't care and these teams don't care and this is just suppression. It's all lies. And if he's actually believing that, I feel bad for Brian Flores because you think other teams are going to want to hire him now? Yeah. That was another thing with Colin Kaepernick where it's like he probably could have been a backup somewhere, but he doubled down and tripled down and just kept pushing this false narrative. And I think there was a lot of teams that were saying, we don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
This is just not good marketing. It's alienating some of our fan base, and it's just not worth it. And that's what I think someone like Brian Flores, I think he has a little bit more talent and skill at this point in his career than Colin Kaepernick did. Like, remember, Blaine Gabbert took over for him. Mm-hmm. But it's hurting him. And then another aspect, too, is he was saying that he was getting paid to lose.
Oh, yeah. No, that he got offered.
Offered.
Yeah.
Or yes, yeah, that's what I mean. He was getting offered. He said I was getting offered money to lose. And then I know we were talking about this last week, how he ended up bringing up like Hugh Jackson too, right?
Hugh Jackson jumped in on the whole conversation on Twitter.
Remember the ex Cleveland Browns coach?
Yeah, and Hugh Jackson was like he started like interacting with a complete nobody on Twitter, which also Hugh Jackson's Twitter like weirdly is not verified. which is hilarious to me.
Well, that's what happens when you lose like 1,000 games.
Yeah, and so Hugh Jackson was saying like, "Oh yeah, like trust me, my number was good." Like, I trying to like insinuate that he was being paid to lose, and people immediately were like, "No, there's no way Hugh Jackson was being paid to lose because otherwise that guy would be on Forbes' list."
Guys, you think that Pfizer made a lot of money last year? Could you imagine being the Cleveland Browns head coach and being offered to lose? If he actually got paid, he would be like a zillionaire. He'd probably be like, "Oh, Elon, you're sending rockets to space? I'll send 3. That's going to be pocket change. I was the coach of the Cleveland Browns."
Well, and there's ways to structure for anybody who's going like, because this was my first thought. If these guys are being offered money to lose games on purpose, incredibly illegal. I mean, just incredibly illegal. Yeah. Now, the way that teams could get around this, if they are doing it, which I have to believe there are some, what you do is you set up an incentive structure in contracts like there are all the time, where it's, a wide receiver, if you catch 15-plus touchdowns this year, you'll make an extra $250K.
And you heard us covering that on the show the last week of the NFL season. That's what a lot of it comes down to. I know like Tom Brady was staying in the game because he wanted Gronk to get his incentives. And then obviously you got people like TJ Watt, like he's got his sack incentives. A lot of the money, like you're saying, players make is off incentives. And coaches have incentives too. So, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to bet on themselves.
Well, and so what will happen is, I'm not saying this did happen. This is how you could get around it and have it, be that gray area. You could put it in Hugh Jackson's contract. Hey, if you make it all 16 games with us, like we don't fire you, wink, wink, you'll get an extra $1 million. If you and those type of incentives are laid in coaches' contracts already. See, normally that's the incentive. Hey, if you don't suck, we want you around. But no. Hugh Jackson, as soon as the Browns lawyered up, he went back 100% on those claims. It was like, "Oh no, I was never paid." Dude, what a bum! Like what a joke! Trying to jump in on the hot moment. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, think about all the stuff he could have bought if he actually got paid for losing. Yeah. That guy would buy islands. That guy would probably be like the Bill Gates of the NFL. He'd probably make Roger Goodell look terrible. He'd probably be like, "Hey, Robert Kraft, do you think you got a lot of money? Should have been a coach of the Cleveland Browns." What a deal. I know I said one last thing with that, but we had a couple. Also, the Pro Bowl was yesterday. You probably didn't watch. I don't think you should have. The Pro Bowl is so whack. It's the two-hand touch bowl. It's obviously, I know there's an aspect you want to protect these players, and they are just hot commodities, and they are a product that you do not want to get injured in the Pro Bowl. But I miss the days of Sean Taylor just absolutely blowing up kickers. Yeah, look at this. So this is posted by Barstool Sportsbook, and that's what it is. Alvin Kamara, so that was hours before he ended up getting arrested.
For getting in a bar fight.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what happens. They go out into the field here, and they're like, "Oh, man, I want to hit somebody. I want to play some real football." And then if someone actually really gets up in my grill in Vegas, where they had the Pro Bowl this year, he's probably like, "I got to bring out my anger because I wasn't able to do it on the field because we were patty caking for a couple hours." It's such a waste of time, and I think it should be like 7-on-7. That's what I think, and I think that would be really fun because there's Alvin Kamara there. I don't understand the bull ring ever, but to each their own. Do whatever you want to do.
I love that he wears number 41 though, dude, because that's such a random number for running back to wear. That I love the choice.
Maybe someone was making fun of his number at the bar. And we're just like, "What do you wear 41? That's lame." Or like sick nose ring. It's just like, "Oh, I didn't get to hit anybody, so I'm gonna hit you now."
Yeah, I don't know how you fix the Pro Bowl, because at this point, if they're not going to tackle each other, and I'm okay with them not tackling each other, I would hate for my franchise quarterback Kyler Murray to tear an ACL or something because of something stupid in a Pro Bowl. I'm just not okay with that for games that don't matter. Games that don't matter are pointless. That's why I also don't care about when college players skip bowl games. No, like these dudes, why risk your career for a game that doesn't matter? But if you're not going to tackle anyways, dude, freaking put them in flags. That would actually kind of be funny to watch.
Maybe it's just like what the NFL is going to end up turning into. Because, I mean, the NFL is getting, I say this with a grain of salt, the NFL is getting soft. That does not mean that the players are soft.
Yeah.
These are studs. That doesn't mean that I want to go out there and go against Aaron Donald. like no chance, but it's totally different. And I understand that where the NBA's evolved, the NHL's evolved, the NFL, all these leagues, because they want to protect their players. They're spending millions of dollars on these guys. I totally get it. But there are aspects where we look back and we're like, I remember the Devin Hester days when they were doing, 40-yard dash. I remember when there was actually a legit like QB challenge in the Pro Bowl, and that was a good time. And it's like, if people are saying the best part of the Pro Bowl is dodgeball, that's a disaster. That's when you are not marketing your product well, and they have to change things up. And I know they changed it up. They were in Vegas,
which already seems like a bad idea per the Alvin Kamara news.
Dude, Vegas is just the place for everything. They just had the NHL All-Star Game there too. That's one All-Star Game that I think is fantastic. They've done a really good job with that. I think they've had like the speed skating challenge too. That's always a good time.
MLB All-Star Game is pretty good too.
MLB is great. I do like that, but there is an aspect of I do like that more players are involved in the home run derby more than the NBA, where it's like some of your best dunkers sometimes are not a part of the dunk contest.
They announced the dunk contest for this year.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And then another thing I want to mention about the Pro Bowl is like that ended 41-35, and so yeah,
Sean
there
Taylor.
it is.
Yeah.
There's Sean Taylor, and I know we posted something on.
Is that Hasselbeck who he just killed?
No, I think it was Brian Moorman. That was the punter, and
what
I love is look at Brian Moorman just gets absolutely, pretty much decapitated. Like I thought this guy was deceased. I thought this guy basically like digged the grave there on the sideline, at the 48-yard line. Good night forever. But he popped right up and actually ended up like he ended up patting Sean Taylor on the helmet. But like that kind of stuff, also, if you're not following us on Instagram, it's at TPUSA Breakaway. We're always posting good content like that. I know there's plenty of people that's like, I missed that. And the funny thing too is I know like they don't even punt in the Pro Bowl. So I know they had AJ Cole. He was fantastic. Like, yeah, having a good time. I think I just slammed a few hot dogs and giving some people some high fives. Just happy to be here. I was like, what a time to be a punter. And for me, I'm probably the only guy, like maybe me, Pat McAfee, and Steve Weatherford are the only people in America that are like, I'd like to see a punting challenge. What I'd like to see?
Be cool. See how far who can punt the farthest.
Who can punt the farthest? Also, this is something that we did at Azusa Pacific is at the end of the week, I always just bombed punts to our linemen to see if they could catch it.
Oh, that would be funny.
Like, that would be hilarious. I like put that in the Pro Bowl. Also, every single Pro Bowl should have one fake punt to where we get to see a Sean Taylor situation. And then you tell the defense you're allowed to tee off on this guy one time. And you never know during the game when it's going to happen. That would make me stick around.
Sacrificing the punters. Man, I have more humanity than you do, apparently. No, but so, yeah, kind of reference the dunk contest. These are your dunk contest participants for 2022. Cole Anthony from the Orlando Magic, Jalen Green from the Houston Rockets, Juan Toscano Anderson from Golden State Warriors, and Obi Toppin from Bing Bong New York Knicks. What a just boring group of fellas. No offense, guys. Obi can jump, sure.
I know that's like, producer Angelo. He's back there. If we say anything about the Knicks, it's almost Bing Bong, Bing Bong. I'm alive. I'm alive. Also, happy marriage to producer Angelo too. He got married last week. Congratulations. And then shout out to Whitney Fazio. Incredible. She's way out of your league, producer Angelo, but well done. He's saying he outkicked his coverage. I love that. Juan Toscano Anderson, that guy can leap out of the building. That guy is a fantastic athlete. I know I got to know him when I was working for the Santa Cruz Warriors. But is he one of the top dunkers in the league?
No. Dude, like, where's Jon Root?
He's not even the top
Edwards?
dunker on his team. Like, I'd much rather see Gary Payton in there.
That'd be kind of cool.
So like Gary Payton III, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it is on the Warriors, making me look really good as a Warriors fan here. But you see people like John Morant dunking all the time, and it's amazing to watch. Zach LaVine's always been one of the best. Aaron Gordon. That's why these All-Star games are just so whack. And that's why, going back to the NHL All-Star game, they ended up changing it to a 3-on-3 tournament. Way better. Also, a lot of people, they're like, you might not care about hockey. Go to a hockey game in person. That is going to be the best sport that you've ever watched live. That's going to be better than any NFL game you've gone to. The NBA is always, I think it's usually a pretty good time. But, Major League Baseball, a lot of people, it's like you're able to sit back, relax. But, like, the NHL is exciting. You should watch that. So here's who those slam dunk contest participants are. And Cole Anthony. I liked him when he was at UNC. Shout out. Go Tar Heels basketball. Let's get it.
It's just like, no, like, this is a disservice to the fans. Like, this isn't, when you hear dunk contest, you're not immediately like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Juan Toscano Anderson in the dunk contest. No, it's John Morant. Like I said, Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is an electric dunker. How do they not get him? You want the Monstars in there.
Yeah, we the Monstars.
Incentive structure.
We're gonna talk about our favorite sports movies too.
I can't wait to get there.
It's definitely up there, but there needs to be a change in a lot of these All-Star games. I think there is like the skills challenge that they have in the NBA All-Star game. I think it was last year's NBA All-Star game. That was probably, or maybe was that 2 years ago, where they changed the format.
COVID's all a blur.
Dude, I don't even know what year we're in. I don't even know what planet I'm on
for real.
Most of the time. But I like the way they've changed that up a little bit. It makes it a little bit more entertaining because obviously there's no defense played in an NBA All-Star game. But at least it's like you got some big dunks, and then Steph's going to shoot like a crazy three and then turn around right when he lets it go. And not like Nick Young, it's actually going to go in this time.
Yeah, no, it's like a 2006 Phoenix Suns game. Double the offense, half the defense.
Yeah. We went through some rough times as you were as a Suns fan, and then me as a Warriors fan. Man, growing up, they were so bad.
Now, speaking of the NBA, John, this is a big week. This is trade deadline week. The trade deadline is on Thursday. So far, we've seen a few moves that have started to, no blockbusters, but Karis LeVert was just traded to the Cavaliers for Ricky Rubio, a first and a couple seconds.
I'm going to look to see how many basketball teams Ricky Rubio has been on. I feel like pretty much every single year for the past 5 years, it's like, oh, yeah, who should we throw in there? Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Just throw him in there.
And then also, Portland made a head-scratching move where they sent Robert Covington and Norman Powell to the Clippers for Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, and rookie Keon Johnson. I think there was some second-round picks involved in that.
Get this before you finish up.
Yeah.
So he was with Minnesota for 7 seasons, and then this is Ricky Rubio. Yeah. Then he went to Utah, and then
Phoenix.
He was with Phoenix, and then now he's with the Cavs.
Well,
or he was with the Cavs, and then now he's being traded over to the Pacers.
And briefly, wasn't he with OKC? Or did he just get rerouted? Because we traded him to OKC in the Chris Paul deal, but he must have
he just got rerouted. So,
bummer.
Yeah, that's been a crazy few years. Yeah, 2019. So 2018 goes from Utah to Phoenix, and then Phoenix to Minnesota, going back to where he started, and then to Cleveland, and then now he's going to Indiana. The guy is hopping around. The guy's an absolute nomad.
Every team he goes to gets better.
That's what I always admit with him. He's like, you know exactly what you're going to get with Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
He's not a garbage player, but he's someone that I feel like is always going to be a part of a package.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he comes at a decent price, and his value is real. He can run an offense. He's a quarterback out there, but he's just not going to take you to a championship.
Yep.
So yeah, we've kind of started to see small moves, and we'll definitely see a few more small moves before Thursday.
Also, the Trailblazers, I feel like they're going to turn into the OKC of the league.
Yeah, this kind of feels like the start of the blow-up.
Because you got to remember too, if there's people out there, OKC obviously blew a 3-1 lead to my Golden State Warriors. They had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. They had a very good squad, and they weren't able to get over that hump. And then after those guys left, those little pieces, downhill. When the Blazers eventually lose Dame Dalla, he's not going to want to stick around anymore. He's done. CJ McCollum, another great piece. He's going to be gone. Who knows how long Nurkic is going to stick around. Once they lose those guys, disaster. They are going to be in the dumps for a long time, and it's probably reflective of the city of Portland anyway. It's like that place is trash, their team's about to be trash, and it bums me out because I think they just needed a few pieces to try to at least compete. They were never going to beat those Warriors teams.
Yeah.
But they ran into a juggernaut, and they couldn't get past them in the playoffs, and it's going to be rough times for Trailblazer fans.
Of course. If I'm the Trailblazers, then I don't want to become OKC. So how do you not become OKC? Well, you don't do what OKC did. They lost Durant for nothing. Okay, Dame is not getting any younger. Look, he is still a phenomenal player. I think you kind of have to accept the fact that you missed the window on building around Dame. I think at this point, don't let yourself become OKC. Move Dame when he still has crazy amounts of value. We're like, look, why are they not on the phone with the New York Knicks right now and saying, hey, we want RJ Barrett and other pieces, and then start building around a new young piece. Dude, like RJ Barrett's a dog. Like, he is so good.
That was such a dumb draft pick, though.
RJ Barrett?
I didn't like it.
Wait? Yeah,
I did.
Producer Angelo's.
I did not like
mind.
that for what the Knicks needed.
Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna dissect that. Who do you think they should have taken? Because Angelo, correct me if I'm wrong. RJ Barrett was drafted 3rd overall, correct? Yeah, 3rd. Yes. Who were when Zion at 1, Ja at 2, who were the clear-cut 1 and 2, and then I felt like RJ was the clear-cut number 3. Like, I don't know who you would have taken ahead of him.
That's why I feel like that's why I think here it's like maybe that was like the best possible, but like get yourself like a solid scorer.
RJ Barrett can score,
but someone that's like he's gonna get. You talk about someone that potentially gets moved around later. Like, sure, he's able to get you some pieces later, but look at the Knicks now. Like, they had a pretty good season last year. They were competing for the playoffs. They made it there. They got knocked out by the Hawks. But it's just like you need someone that's going to be more of a facilitator. Someone like RJ Barrett's a beast. He's definitely a dog, but it's like you need someone with a little bit more like longevity. And
yeah, okay, yeah. This is draft. Yeah, Zion at 1, Ja at 2, RJ Barrett at 3, where he should have been picked. Then you have DeAndre Hunter to the Hawks at 4, Darius Garland, who's actually a pretty good player, Jarrett Culver, bust, Kobe White, bust, Jackson Hayes, kind of a bust, Rui Hachimura, he was raw, Cam Reddish, then Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson's been a great piece for Phoenix.
Yeah, no, like it's just like John. I'm respectfully, you're wrong.
Why would I say like. Or why would you not try to make some sort of move in like try to bump up there, like try to give up some pieces though, like with Memphis or something. That's what I would say. Like obviously it's going to be tough to try to give that up. Like that's why again I'll probably just say like he was the best option there. But for someone like RJ Barrett, now we're having a conversation of how he's potentially getting moved. Like would you throw him in a package? It's like.
Yeah, like I mean, if I had a disgruntled superstar, I think because look, there are young players who are available and young players who are not. Like, look, the Timberwolves, you couldn't call them up and try and get Anthony Edwards. They're building their franchise around him. If the New York Knicks are as desperate to win as I believe they are, if RJ Barrett is available at all, and I had a disgruntled superstar, the Knicks are probably my first call because you want to get young players that could actually become something. And I think RJ Barrett's that. I mean, just the very last game he played, he dropped 36 points on the Los Angeles Lakers. 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers, 13 of 28 shooting. Like, dude, that's a good stat line.
Yeah, he's a beast. I just think I think of the Trae Young and the Luka Doncic situation. Well, like there's a lot of trades going on in that draft, and I think you figure out something that's you need a facilitator. You need someone like RJ Barrett's a stud, but I think what we get to this point where he's just going to end up being a piece where it's like you build him up just so you can trade him. Like that's why I think this is. I definitely misspoke when it says like a bad draft pick. It's best he was the best option available, but at least try to do something to get a score. Someone's going to have longevity and stick around with the Knicks, not somebody that you potentially build up and then trade away for draft picks later.
Yeah, I mean, for the Knicks, I think part of the problem is that they've been kind of hustling their way through it, like kind of faking it out. Sorry, Angelo, but like, look, when you're trying to make it come off that you're gonna compete for a championship with Kemba Walker and Julius Randle, like, I'm sorry, you're just not gonna do that.
Well, and that's why I say that too. It's like you got people like that, and then like they have this very, very small window, and they have to play perfect, and they have to try to make their way through the East while these other teams are getting stronger, and like the Nets are gonna pick people up, the Bucks are gonna continue to get stronger.
Yeah,
and you got the Bulls that are doing their thing a little bit, where it's like they have that small window. And then you have that facilitator on the team. You got a shooting guard that are just like, hopefully they're good for that small window and we can find success. And then build up RJ Barrett, get rid of him. That's the reason I say that. And I just don't feel like that's a good model at all.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. I just think it's really, really tough to actually try and... Well, actually, I just had this thought. What if instead of trading away RJ Barrett, what if you deal away Julius Randle and try and pair somebody like a Damian Lillard, who is a good facilitator, with an RJ Barrett? That could actually be kind of interesting then.
Are people really interested in Julius Randle right now, though? An aging veteran player that's could give you some good minutes, but has been very inconsistent. Especially like lately, like his values go. That's why I say it's just like you got that small window. His value is just gonzo, and he's just not attractive.
Yeah,
it's just.
I can't argue with
there's a reason why I'm not an NBA GM. There's a reason to just talk about sports. But
I don't know. I feel like you'd be better than Daryl Morey at this point.
Another thing that we need to talk about the Nets when it comes to trades. So. Steve Nash said we are not moving James Harden at all. I know I got to see James Harden live with Kyrie Irving when they played the Suns. Also, too, if you want to see some great interviews, we're going to post the full interview on our YouTube, asking people outside of the Footprint Center where the Phoenix Suns play, asking what they thought about Kyrie Irving being unvaccinated. Had a lot of really cool responses and a lot of interesting responses, too. The guy that's probably one of the most unhealthy people I've ever seen said that he's endangering people's health, so he should just go and get the jab. It's interesting stuff, yeah. But I think we always want to provide some sort of opportunity for people from like both sides. That's what I was telling people. Like, doesn't matter what you think. I'm not going to be over here just like, hey, change my mind. It's like, just tell us what you think. Let's have a conversation. That's great. James Harden's not getting moved. And Kevin Durant is taking some heat from Stephen A. Smith. I thought that was interesting, too. Yeah,
what it was really cool was to see Kevin Durant push back on Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A., obviously, he's become such a joke, and it's been fun. Like, it's a good joke. Don't get me wrong. We love it on social media. Obviously, SNL even just recently was making fun of Stephen A. Smith.
That was one of the best SNL skits in a very, very long time. Yeah. A lot of people tried saying that the Peyton Manning SNL skit was like the greatest skit SNL's done in years. Mm-hmm. This one with Stephen A. Smith and Michael Irvin, I thought it was 1,000 times better.
Oh, it was so funny. So it was nice. It was nice to see Kevin Durant put him on blast. Yeah, this is what Kevin Durant on Twitter said. Steve, since you decided to use ESPN to push your personal agendas, I'm sure your minions will run with this story for you. But if you believe this is what my career is defined by, then you just a flat-out hater. It's going to be hard to box the God in. I mean, don't refer to yourself as a God. That's kind of, but
well, it's a lowercase G. You got to remember that. All right, let me do my thing here.
Preach.
I will preface it with I am insanely biased, and I will tell you when I'm insanely biased. I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, born in the Bay Area, was watching them in the dumps for a long time, and then these years of watching them compete for championship after championship, and then they won 73 games. It could have been the greatest season in the history of the NBA, maybe going down as the greatest season in the history of sports. They obviously did not win that championship, ended up losing to LeBron James, and the Cavs. And then know who joined him the next year? Kevin Durant. If you have a chance to help build what could be known as the greatest team of all time, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, you had people like Sean Livingston, and other great eight pieces on that team. You got Draymond Green, always one of the best defensive players in the entire league. And why wouldn't you do it? Why? He gets so much hate on this whole, like, my next chapter. People are so dumb because I think people hated the Warriors, and then this just villainized them more, where it's like, I can't believe he joined the best team ever. What do you mean? You know when you're at the schoolyard and you're just like, I hope I get picked by that team because that's the best team out there? You're not going to be like, you know what, I hope I join that other team. It's just kind of washed up, but I hope I can be the superstar and take them to the championship so I can be known as the guy that didn't really need that much help. Newsflash, everybody needs help. Everybody needs good pieces around them, and that's why I say I'm going to be a little bit biased because obviously I wanted my team to get better and win championships, but the amount of hate that he gets, and for Stephen A. Smith to say that his career is going to be defined by joining a 73-win team totally disregards everything that he did for the Warriors. He's won 2 Finals MVPs. Yeah. He's a big reason they won that championship because, to be completely honest, Steph Curry has not been that good in NBA championships. Yeah. People need to bring that up as well. He has not been that clutch in NBA championships. Obviously, he's dealt with some injuries, and then Klay Thompson. Like, there's no reason the Raptors should have beaten the Warriors. Everybody was injured. Kevon Looney was injured, and obviously you got to make do with what you got. But
your first go-to is Kevon Looney, dude.
Well, Kevon Looney was the big man, and just like we had no presence there, but everybody was hurt.
Yeah, Klay Thompson. Kevin
So
Durant.
it's not like Kevon Looney was getting us buckets.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where, we had to play a little bit more small ball, and Klay was hurt, Steph was hurt, KD ended up getting hurt too, and I think he was just like, I want to try to win in New York, and I can respect it. A lot of people probably need to watch or listen to Draymond Green's podcast with JJ Redick talking about the whole KD situation. I think they still got a lot of love for him. But if people like Stephen A. Smith are going to say that this guy is only defined by joining a 73-win team, disregards everything that he's done, and we'll see.
Cause and like, I won't lie, I was never the biggest fan of the move. It's just not how I'm built. Everything you said was true. Of course you want to go play with the best. Like I said to you last night when we were on the phone, it's like, yo, if you got the chance to go join the 96 Bulls, would you?
Of course.
Yeah. But it totally, like, I remember, I can't remember what year this was, but when Kevin Durant tied Michael Jordan's record for consecutive games with 25-plus points, that was that moment where it was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I already knew this guy was a certified bucket, but he's tying Jordan records? Like, that's crazy. We talk about all the records LeBron's broken. He's never even come close to that one. It was like 41 games in a row with 25-plus points. Kevin Durant is probably the most certified bucket since Larry Bird. Like, of just
he's
guys.
Also one of the most exciting college basketball players ever.
Yeah, Texas.
He looked like an absolute Slim Jim out there too. That guy had zero muscle on his body playing at Texas, but he was one of the most fun players to watch then.
Oh, yeah.
And then go for it.
I was gonna say, in the NBA Combine or whatnot, he couldn't bench 135 pounds.
Oh no, that's why. Like I tell you, he looked like Gumby out there. It looked like a Slim Jim. He looked like it was, but the dude got buckets, and that's what it was about. I mean, he's not playing old time NBA where you're going against people like
Bill Laimbeer.
the bad boys of the Detroit Pistons. It's like he's a shooter, he's a footer.
Dennis Rodman would have banged him up,
destroyed back then. But dude, he is an incredible basketball player. I know I will give credit to Stephen A. Smith for saying that stuff, but sometimes it's like a backhanded compliment. And there's KD at Texas, like
look at that stick. Kind of looks like Evan Mobley.
He kind of does.
Yeah.
Like him, and then. I mean, obviously, Jimmer Fredette was a really exciting college basketball player. Steph Curry was always exciting. And I know producer Dominic is still hurting from everything Jimmer Fredette did to him.
Well, I mean, drafted by the Sacramento Kings, and then they didn't play him. Like, what did you expect? But obviously, Jimmer was never that good of a player.
Oh, things didn't work out in Sacramento?
Oh,
what? The team that should have picked up Luka Doncic? Are you kidding me?
Man, should we?
Vlade Divac should have just stuck with just flopping on the court and then get out of management and being a GM. That guy, that was tough. Another person, and speaking of Luka, he had a triple double last night against the Hawks in just 28 minutes. And then the crazy thing about Luka Doncic is most triple doubles before age 23. For people watching, we got this graphic on here. NBA history, Luka Doncic has got 45 triple-doubles before he's turned 23. Oscar Robinson, 38. Magic Johnson, 31. He had 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists yesterday. Sacramento Kings, what were you doing? I know I bring that up all the time. I could not believe it.
Yeah, poor Marvin.
I was like, dude, this guy is like literally 10 years old, and he's getting the MVP in the best league in Europe. Okay, he was like 17. And 17 and 18. He was like getting MVPs out there in the best league in Europe. And you're like, you're not going to pick this guy up? That's why I think with teams like, this guy is a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Get people like this. And that's why I think they ended up picking up Marvin Bagley. It's like, good God, Kings. And then this is a crazy stat, too. So he did not receive a single media vote for the All-Star team. Since then, his numbers have been 30 points, 34 points, 40 points, 33 points. And look at that. You got 2 triple-doubles in there and pretty darn close to 4 triple-doubles, 2 double-doubles, 2 triple-doubles, averaging over 30 points a game. He posted the 20th 30-point triple-double of his career. And
he came into the season really out of shape, though. The Mavericks were struggling to start
not as bad as
season.
James Harden, though.
James
Harden looks like he stole Santa's cookies.
Yeah. But no, like, I mean, dude, these NBA superstars that James Harden, Luka Doncic, Zion Williamson, dude, call up TB12 or something, because how can you be at playing, the top of the top, and you're allowing your diet to keep you from competing in all-star games and keep you from really competing for championships? No, like this is why Tom Brady was so special, is you have to have people who live in LeBron James. I am sure that dude has his own version of TB12.
Oh, he does.
He's
another one of those guys that I think reports came out that he spends like close to $1 million on his body. And give respect where respect is due. The guy does such a great job with his body. Disagree with his politics. Don't like the way he flops around and plays and complains, whatever. Like, the guy's done a great job to make sure he has longevity in the sport. He's been doing some incredible things this season too. And it's worth it. Because just thinking about all the millions of dollars that people miss out on just because they don't take care of their body. Yeah. And you got to stay disciplined. And you got to remember, like, we just showed you that stat of Luka Doncic getting triple-doubles before he's 23. Not even 23 yet.
He could be an all-time great.
Think about that. And then people like Zion Williamson, dude, the guy is huge. And he's been injured.
Yeah.
So much. You don't have that kind of size and leap and then just take that kind of pounding game after game and then expect to just kind of have some longevity.
Yeah.
You got to slim down a little bit. You got to find a way to keep your career going. And that's why it kind of bums me out seeing things like this. Like, they need to get people in their corner. And that's why a lot of these guys, they have managers, they got teams. Like, people came around Tom Brady. And we're just like, and then I think Giselle probably helped a lot too. You end up marrying the right person. That's gonna keep you in line and keep you healthy. But speaking of triple doubles, though, too, most career triple doubles in NBA history. Nikola Jokic, the Joker, has an NBA leading 14 triple doubles this season, and is inching pretty close. His way up the all-time list. So Russell Westbrook has got 193, probably on 10 for 458 shooting. And Oscar Robinson, number 2, Magic Johnson. But Nikola Jokic, you can see him at the very bottom there at 71. You talk about a guy that looks goofy. Oh, yeah. An absolute ogre, but he's got fairly good fundamentals. He knows how to space the floor. He knows how to get his buckets.
Great vision.
He's one of the best players in the league, and he's one of the best big men in the league.
I mean, he's doing his best attempt to back up his MVP trophy. I don't think he'll win it 2 years in a row, but boy, is he making a case. Yeah, he's definitely impressive. And I know going back to our, I know our producers back there, they once again do an incredible job. Going back to the Pro Bowl, I want to bring this up for a second. The Pro Bowl ratings, according to a source, had less than 8 million viewers that watched the 2019 Pro Bowl on ESPN. The NBA Finals ratings during COVID averaged about 4.25 million viewers, and people just don't watch that stuff anymore. And people that, speaking of don't watch stuff, they're not watching the Olympics. I can't imagine why.
There's absolutely no reason we should be out there holding the Olympics in genocidal China. But the viewership, and it just goes to show that people don't agree with what's happening here. You had Speaker Pelosi who came out and said, keep your mouth shut because China's terrifying. The CCP is terrifying. It's true. I don't agree with her for the reason that she has. It's like there's no reason we should have been out there in the first place. Also, you have a diplomatic boycott. You got no help politically just in case things go haywire. We talked about how the deputy director out there for the Olympics that said, like, if you violate the Olympic spirit, say anything about China, you're going to get punished. We had Shaun White. I know he had an interesting TikTok showing how even when they have masks on, they have this technology that knows exactly who they are when they're going through these like little gates in the Olympic Village and everything. It's a crazy place to be. A Dutch reporter got pulled off air during the opening ceremonies. But when I talk about viewership, 16 million viewers tuned in to watch the Beijing Olympic opening ceremonies.
Which that might sound like a lot, but
this is the biggest sporting event in the entire world. It happens every 4 years, the Winter Olympics, and this was an all-time low. It was down 43% from 28.3 million viewers from the South Korea Winter Olympic Games in 2018. People don't agree with us being there. They don't care to watch at all. And then also, a Uyghur, where there is actual genocide over there, a Uyghur lit the Olympic torch.
That's so,
Like, if that is not just, like, Xi Jinping saying, like, I can do whatever the hell I want. China's been able to do whatever they want there. And a crazy part about this story, everyone that's watching, there's the Olympic torch there, and there's also that cross-country skier, so that's the cross-country skier there. The Twitter actually removed the video of this Uyghur lighting the Olympic torch, and this is what they had to say. The International Olympic Committee or its representatives successfully lobbied Twitter to remove, and this is from the Washington Examiner, to remove a viral clip showing a Uyghur athlete lighting the Olympic flame with commentary from NBC's Savannah Guthrie amid U.S. allegations of Uyghur genocide, the big tech company said. The video was disabled by Twitter by Saturday morning, and it now says that the media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner. U.S. allegations. everybody knows there's genocide going on out there. Everybody knows there's labor camps. Everybody knows there's human rights issues.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to tune in. They don't agree with the CCP. The IOC even awarding them the Olympics is absolutely asinine. And then even you had, I know we posted this on TPUSA's Instagram. Once again, that's at TPUSA Breakaway on Instagram. J.A. Adonde. He is a director of journalism at Northwestern, also an ESPN talking head. He ended up saying on Around the Horn, and said, who are we as the U.S. to call out human rights reports and allegations of China? He tried comparing voter ID laws to genocide. That's where we're at.
Yeah,
you have people like that.
lambasted.
It's crazy. There's absolutely no reason we're out there. We obviously hope our athletes are going to be safe. Did watch some of the Olympics. There is some amazing feats of athleticism, and I really like the big air. That's been fun. That's a brand new competition there amid some other new sports that they got. There's like 7 new events, and they got the mono bob, so they literally have one person in a bobsled. But you shouldn't be watching the Olympics. We'll watch the Olympics, so you don't have to. Once again, but nobody trusts the CCP. And then there was another thing. I know this is very long-winded, but I get so up in arms about all this garbage. Is Peng Shuai, the women's tennis player, one of the best women's tennis players out there. Everybody was wondering, where is she? We covered that with the Aussie Open. People wore those T-shirts, and they said, don't make a political stance. And they ended up going back and said, sure, you can wear these at the Aussie Open after you're saying you can't. There was allegations against a CCP official of sexual assault. And then late last night here in America, there was a report that said that Peng Shuai gave her first interview with a non-Chinese media outlet since November 2021. And November 2021 is basically like when she ended up deleting that social media post. She went missing. Is she okay? And I guess she appeared to talk to this French newspaper, and she said that the allegations were an enormous misunderstanding. Convenient to say that at this point. And that's when I guess the IOC, so the International Olympic Committee, announced on Monday that President Thomas Bach met with Peng Shuai over dinner on this last Saturday, but they did not discuss the allegations, according to the IOC statement. This is a terrifying place to be. They told our athletes, don't bring your personal devices. Probably should have burner phones. Be careful. You got people in our government that don't have their back whatsoever. And it's absolutely insane. And I know some of our producers back there, too. It's like they're feeding them garbage food. They had to basically ship water in to make sure they had enough snow here. I know I was watching the giant slalom yesterday. I know there was some reports of how they don't really like the snow. And imagine, it's not even a good place to have there when it comes to climate. And actually, wow, is this happening right now? Did it just come out this morning? So actually, yeah. So I guess while we were sleeping, speaking of a good movie, so this came out from the Washington Post. So I guess Peng Shuai obviously said it was a misunderstanding, and she just announced her retirement.
She needs to get out of China is what she needs to do.
This is crazy. Look at where this whole situation has gone. Her career's over now. Look at that, too. So it's, my goodness. So yeah, so everybody looking here, we're going through this Washington Post article, and yeah, I know I did see that quote, too, when it said, like, Peng Shuai, my life has been what it's supposed to be, nothing special. This is terrifying, dude. It's crazy to me. And then there's also people that are American defectors. I know we were talking about that over the phone last night. And there's a Zhu Ji. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that correct. She was born as Beverly in Los Angeles to Chinese parents. And grew up in a home where she was well off, got a lot of what she wanted. She's a figure skater. And then she surrendered her American citizenship so she could compete for China and changed her name to Zhu Ji. She failed twice during the her Olympic debut
Ball don't lie.
yesterday, finishing with the lowest score. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you go and compete for? Because remember,
China.
it's competing for communist China. Like, there are good Chinese people out there, and there are great athletes out there that are part of Team China. But like, remember too, like these Chinese athletes like have to win.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of similar. If you guys have seen Icarus, that's a great documentary about the Russian Olympic Committee, which they're now known by, and everybody's trying to wonder, like, why are they known as the Russian Olympic Committee, not just Russia? They had to change things up because there was all those allegations of doping, and they had a whole program. And Icarus, that documentary you can find on Netflix, exposes all of that. And then now you have people that are U.S. citizens that are defecting and going over to China to compete with them. And I guarantee you, you compete for China and you fall twice like she did and get the lowest score.
Well, no, because look, like the reason she's not going to stay in China afterwards, it's not a Peng Shui situation. She's going to come home to America. And that's why also Eileen Gu, another American defector, she's a free skier. That's her competition. Born and raised in San Francisco. Mother is from China. Father's from born here in America. Look, she was basically raised by, sports-wise, by Team USA. They invested in her. They worked with her, and then she, right before this Olympics, turns her back and goes and joins China's team. Like, look, like turn your back on America to go play for the commies. How is this not a problem? 40 years ago, like these people would have been called a traitor and never let back in the country. So it's a bummer that these people choose to go play for communist China amid all the scandal and allegations, horrible stuff, and then they will come home to America. And that's, frankly, I don't love that. But man, a lot of heavy topics.
Please give your hot take.
Brian
tell
Flores.
Tell the people what you told me on the phone last night.
What did I say on the phone last night? It was late.
You said about people that go and defect over to China to play for the Olympic team. What do you think about them coming back?
Oh, don't let them. If you want to go play for China and turn your back on America, stay in China. Like, this isn't your home anymore. Surrender your dual citizenship, and just live there. If you want to represent China, be in China. America's not for you. I'm sorry. That's my take. I don't really care if that makes me seem like a hater. USA number one.
Well, also too, if you talk about a sense of privilege, that's some privilege. You go and join communist China and compete for them, because that's who you're competing for. You're competing for Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
You're not competing for the great people. Chinese people of China. You're not competing for the Chinese Christians out there. You're competing for a dictator. And this is what we were bringing up yesterday, this is what happened yesterday. So, falling twice. Boom. Down. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Dude, there's
Thanks
nobody
for doing
in those
that
stands.
triple axel, double pit to chesty, eat some ice. I also love listening to announcers when they do this. I have no idea how this is scored or what's going on. But what I do know is that's horrible. That's not what you're looking for. You don't jump over there and say, "Hey, I'm going to join your Chinese Olympic team to fall twice." Yeah. That ain't going to work. So, but there has been a few aspects of the Olympics that our athletes are already out there. So I want to root for them. I want them to do well. I want them to stay safe. And it's really hard to stay safe when you're doing that big air competition. I don't know if you watch that at all, but they have that free ski big air.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Those people, they have some cojones on them. Like, that is insanity to do that kind of stuff. But we're going to wrap up with this.
Let's end on a fun note.
Before we get into sports movies, the MLB strike's still going on. We got to remember that. So they haven't been able to find a happy medium between the owners and the top dogs there in Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball's Player Association. Spring training should be starting in just about a couple weeks. And I know we're going to stay at the top there. So the players have rejected the offer of federal mediation. That's what the top dogs in baseball have done. We don't need mediation because what we're offering to Major League Baseball is fair on both sides. That's what Mad Max Scherzer said as various players started to speak out about delays. We'll get into that at a later date. I know we've covered that on previous shows, but it's so insane to me that we had a shortened MLB season. We basically didn't get a spring training a couple years ago. Baseball's been in flux, and they can't figure out what's going on here. We want baseball. Come on. And, like, baseball is such a crap show right now.
Yeah.
Probably more than any other league. And they don't know how to market their players. I know, congratulations to Shohei Ohtani. He's the cover athlete for MLB The Show. We might never see someone like Shohei Ohtani again, and people should be able to go to spring training. It's cheap. It's fun. Come out to Arizona.
The weather's great.
And you get to see athletes like that. And kids, too, like, I don't think there's anything like spring training. The access you get to players.
You're so close to them.
It's so fun, but they have to figure it out. Figure it out.
Yeah, look, they will. There's too much money on the table for both sides that even if it goes a little more prolonged than expected, they'll get something figured out. Like these lockouts never last too long. Too much money on the table.
Exactly. All right, let's get into some of our favorite sports movies. So we're gonna wrap up with this. I love this so much because you and I were talking on the phone last night, and so there's that new movie that came out about Kurt Warner.
Yeah, American Underdog.
Still have not seen American Underdog yet. I want to see it. But I am just a sports movie nut. And it got me thinking, like, what's some of the best? But before we get into that, if they did a movie about the Patriots, you're bringing up a little article you saw, or I don't know, Mark Wahlberg said something. What was that?
Mark Wahlberg, in his round of interviews this week, he said he got asked about being a Patriots fan and whatnot, and he said, yeah, if they make a movie about the Patriots, specifically, I think it's about like Deflategate. He said, I would love to play Bill Belichick, which, like, that's not who I would cast Mark Wahlberg as, but
they're gonna call it Flat Balls, a Patriot story.
A Patriot story. No, but I was thinking, I was going, okay, like if I were to be building out a Deflategate movie. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg wants to play Bill Belichick in a Tom Brady movie.
I'm excited about him in Uncharted too. I know that's not sports related at all, but
it's Tom Holland related, and we love all things Tom.
That's gonna be fun.
No, so I built out my cast of if we're making a Deflategate movie. I put a lot of time and effort into this last night. I wanted to make it all Boston people. I couldn't quite get there, but I got close. So, remembering Boston, so I kind of capped myself in a little bit. Tom Brady would be played by Ben Affleck.
See, I don't mind that at all. I hope he could throw a football.
Probably better than some. Rob Gronk, not Boston, but it makes too much sense. Rob Gronk would be played by Channing Tatum, which makes too much sense. Julian Edelman, I'd cast Casey Affleck, another Boston guy. Robert Kraft, I'd do Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman could play Robert Kraft, Maybe
that would be,
maybe not include the Miami masseuse scene, but
yeah, I don't know. Flat Ball is a Patriots story, rated R.
Empty balls.
Dustin Hopkins as the massage.
Giselle would be played by the lovely Blake Lively.
I love that call because when we were talking last night, I was like, well, might as well just have Giselle play Giselle.
Beautiful.
Blake Lively, she is definitely like, she's up there, probably like top 3 when it comes to celebrity crushes.
Oh yeah,
hell of a gal.
Roger Goodell, gotta have a clown play him. So Matt Damon, we'd cast Matt Damon as Roger Goodell.
That Crypto.com commercial is so
it's
good.
So bad.
We think about the greatest moments of history, and we landed on the moon. Fortune favors the brave. Cryptocurrency. It's just like, get the F out of here. That would be a fantastic movie.
Is
this like The Departed of
yeah, basically
sports movies?
All Boston. Yeah, I have one more Boston person. Kind of a low key. People don't remember he's from Boston. Remember, the Deflategate game was against the Colts, so you'd need to cast Andrew Luck, and I would have John Krasinski playing Andrew Luck.
Oh man!
Right,
dude, this is a fantastic.
I think I just made a blockbuster.
Do we know anybody in Hollywood? Anyway, let's get him on the horn.
I think
we need this. Casting director Bryan Farnsworth. I watched that movie.
Oh, I'd watch that movie in a second. It'd be so good. Better than Kevin James as Sean Payton. I'm still gonna watch that movie.
I love that. That's gonna be freaking amazing. But let's go over our favorite sports movies.
Do we want to go? How many are we doing?
I think what I'd like to do is just kind of reminisce on some good sports movies. I think anytime I think of my favorite sports movies, Remember the Titans is always up there.
Heart pick.
It is such a great story about, you talk about like racial reconciliation, how sports found a way to like bridge that gap. Remember the Titans explains that so well.
Yeah.
And you also got to remember that Ryan Gosling is in that movie and an absolute liability in the secondary. Horrible. This is so bad. That's why you don't have white players on defense as quarterbacks. That's why we've only seen one. Now we had a white starting quarterback for the.
Classic.
It's such a good movie for the. Used to be Washington Redskins. Now they're Washington Commanders. Also, you know what people are going to start calling them? The Washington Commies for short.
Oh,
you know they are.
Yeah.
What a fitting name. But Remember the Titans is up there. That soundtrack. A+++. Fantastic movie. And, dude, I would watch that to get ready for football games in high school. I don't want them to gain another yard. We blitz all night.
Strong side.
Left side. What an amazing movie. Moneyball is up there for me.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. I was heading off to Cancun about a couple years ago. Heading out there with some good buddies. And we're heading out there with some ladies too, and you know, I feel like anytime you go there, it's like I've gotten in really good shape. I want to look manly. Like we'll take some like shirtless photos. I'm crying on the plane watching Moneyball. I'm out there like I'm getting emotional watching my Oakland.
Well, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
Literally, that's what I had to tell people. I ended up putting my glasses on while I was watching that. Absolutely fantastic movie, and Brad Pitt as Billy Bean. Amazing casting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then
I need more Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill movies. They were such a good duo together. It surprised me.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what's some other movies for you? Because there's so much
when it comes to like,
the board.
I like you know, normally I lean towards, you know, sports movies about real stuff. But when it comes to the more fake stuff, because it is based on some truth, I love Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Jerry Maguire is just such a fun movie. Also, I think it's because what I loved about it was, as growing up a, you know, Sun Devils fan and an Arizona Cardinals fan, Cuba Gooding Jr., he was, I went to Arizona State. I'm a Sun Devil, baby. And then, you know, playing for the Cardinals. So I loved Jerry Maguire. You know, half the lines in that movie are iconic. You had me at hello. Just so good.
Did you write some down?
Yeah, I wrote down some movies I loved. Also, I think my favorite comedic, my favorite comedic sports movie has to be Talladega Nights. I love that movie.
That is hilarious. That movie is so funny. Baby Jesus, and it's like I don't know what to do with my hands. So many quotable.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
So many quotable lines, but other good comedy sports movies. Cool Runnings. You talk about a quotable movie.
Oh, yeah. Everybody shut up.
What you smoking? I'm not smoking. I'm breathing. yeah, it's what the Swiss do. Oh. My family would always bring up this line here. It's like, I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother that won't take no crap off of no one once again. Another great line out of that movie was when, what's his name? I'm going blank. Just the big, strong, muscly guy. He says, "You know what I'm gonna do after this? I'm gonna move in to Buckingham Palace." And then Sanka's like, "You want to move in there? You got to marry the Queen." Want to kiss my lucky egg? Like, what another great story too. Like, it's Yul Brynner.
Jeez.
Another random line in that movie is You know, when they're doing that presentation to try to find people to be a part of the bobsled team, it's like, bobsledding, it's pretty simple. And this guy goes, yeah, so is a toilet. Just, what a stupid line. My brother and I say that all the time. But, like, that's a great Olympic story. Yeah. Just like Miracle is a great Olympic story. You talk about
some Kurt Russell.
Oh, man. That is, again, like, we go back to this idea of the Winter Olympics being a place where we can, and just Olympics in general, we can bring people together. I get goosebumps just thinking about Miracle. We wanted to beat the brakes off the Soviet Union. We had the Cold War going on. There was foreign relations that were just at a breaking point. But where did we compete and show the country what we were all about?
Yeah.
On the ice. And that's what I would like to see at some point during these Winter Olympics, is maybe just like a U.S. versus China situation. But I don't really know where we're going to see that. But it just doesn't feel the same either, because this was
not united.
This was in Lake Placid too. We gotta remember that. So it's not like we were out like playing in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But like, what a fantastic movie. There's a lot of underrated movies too.
Oh, I was gonna say my favorite underrated sports movie is The Greatest Game Ever Played with Shia LaBeouf.
Thank you. I was gonna say that.
Oh, so underrated. About Francis Ouimet, the first American amateur golfer to win the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
1913.
And remember, like, back then too, like, this wasn't just like a race thing at all. This was just socioeconomic. Like, if you grew up in poverty, you did not get into the country club.
Oh yeah,
you did not play. You did not play at all. And I think the way they, I was watching that with my dad last year, and he was saying the same thing about, like, I forgot how good this movie is.
So good.
And the way they tell that story of anytime you played golf, like, you want to eliminate distractions as much as possible, but telling that story about how he is able to, like, everything disappears, and all he sees is that fairway. All he sees is that pin there off into the distance. It's a great story. I love that one a lot. We also got to bring up Sandlot. Oh man, you talk about it.
The sports movie we're raised on.
You're killing me, Smalls. That's like, you talk about a quotable movie. That's really up there. Another great comedy is not going to be in the upper echelon of sports movies. Kicking and Screaming.
Oh yeah,
that is such a funny sports movie.
I know. Is it Dominic? You love Kicking and Screaming.
Great. Fantastic movie.
The not politically correct sports movie, but an all-time great, The Ringer.
Oh my gosh.
Jeffy
Could you imagine?
Apples.
I feel like we talked about that on a previous podcast. Like, what if The Ringer and Tropic Thunder were made in 2022? I think America would burn down.
Oh my gosh, I love
like
Johnny
the place would go downhill. And then also too, if you guys are online right now watching this live, you can tell us some of your favorite sports movies too. I know we should probably do some sort of post on social media as well, just to get people's favorite sports movies. That would be pretty fun, because there's so much to go off of.
We do a bracket, like maybe we do like a competition, see what people vote on.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Social media team, we're gonna get on that. We're gonna put a nice little, like, almost March Madness bracket together for best sports movies. But before you have your thought here, I do love sports movies so much. If I'm gonna get sentimental about how it's bridging a political gap, how it's telling a story of meritocracy, how it's talking about, like, started from the bottom, now we hear it. Cinderella Man, another great, like, during the Depression, like, someone that's doing everything they possibly can to provide for their family. 42 is another great movie, and, like, telling the story of Jackie Robinson. The Express, I don't think the movie was that good, but it tells another great story of, bridging that gap, and finding a way to get rid of segregation and bring people together in sports. Like, these are telling great stories, and that's why, like, we love this podcast. We love being able to have a voice in this culture war with sports, because just look at these movies. these aren't woke movies either. If these movies were made now, remember the Titans, 42. Like, who knows what they would do with these movies now to inject just some
much
woke
politics? Yeah,
some woke BS. Just tell the story of what happened and get people to feel this sense of patriotism again, this sense of humanity, and this sense of coming together. Because sports has the ability to bring us together unlike anything else, and these movies do a great job telling it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. John, we were in high school. Did you go see Never Back Down when it came out?
I almost walked out of the theater.
Walked out, dude. I almost freaking raged out of that movie.
I thought that movie was so garbage.
It was so good.
I could not stand that movie.
The best line from it, babes, the one thing better than brawling. It was so bad, but so good at the same time. When Kanye Stronger comes on, you just want to like rush out of the theater and go get in a street fight with somebody.
I hated that movie. I'm sorry. I'm glad you liked it, but I was like,
it's like it was so bad it was good. Because it's just like how everybody makes the jokes about like, oh yeah, Euphoria was just like my high school experience. That's exactly what Never Back Down is, where it's like, oh yeah, in my high school we also had underground MMA tournaments. Yeah, that was normal high school life, right?
Yeah. That's, a few more before we let you guys go is Rudy. That's in my top 5 as well. Who's the wild man now? Rudy. We actually named our dog Rudy after that movie. We had a nice little golden retriever for a while in the Root fam. We spelled it Rootie, Rudy. Not like the Rudy in the movie. Another great one I grew up with is Rookie of the Year.
Oh yeah, Rookie of the Year.
You talk about like a classic comedy character, Brigma. He was a guy that worked in the clubhouse for the Chicago Cubs in this movie. That guy is so baked. That guy. There's a lot of great movies, but I hope that Deflategate movie, Flat Balls, comes out, a Patriot story at some point. But this has been a really fun podcast. I know we're going to come out with a Super Bowl special. We're going to talk about prop bets. We're going to talk about a little Super Bowl preview. And speaking of the Super Bowl, if you have not listened to my interview with LA long snapper Matt Orzech, played with him at Azusa Pacific. He has an incredible journey going from a D2 tight end, becoming a long snapper as well in his later years at Azusa Pacific, to going to the Super Bowl. It's an incredible story. He's an awesome guy. I know that's a reason I'm rooting for the Rams. I want to see my buddy get a ring. It's going to be tough to beat Joe Burrow. But listen to that. And we do have that Super Bowl special that's going to be coming out very, very soon. I think we're going to release that Saturday, because normally you guys are used to probably Sunday, Monday is when you're getting content from us, sometimes on Wednesdays. But we're going to release that on Saturday because we got big Super Bowl Sunday. We want you to be able to get that content.
Get your bets placed,
Yeah, we want you to know, where do you put your money on when you're betting on the national anthem? Is it over? Is it under? We'll break it all down. It's a lot of fun. How can you not be romantic about Breakaway? That's how we'll finish off. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, review, like, all that good stuff. Follow us at TPUSA Breakaway on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. We really appreciate you guys. Once again, too, this is growing every single week. We want to share good content. We want to know what you guys have to say in the world of sports, because we're fighting the culture war every single week. We want to get sports back to being unifying again, sports being an outlet from the craziness of the world. And it's because of people like you, and because of people like you and all the people in the back. I love y'all. I'm Jon Root. That's Bryan Farnsworth. See you guys soon.
Win. Watch out.